Hello everyone, this is part 15 of What If Naruto and Hinata trained together and a spark happened, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. How long do we have to wait? Sai asked. But his question was not one of impatience. He had begun to sketch the majestic beauty of the waterfall, and wanted to know how long he had to work. Despite being early in January, it was a warm, clear day. Sakura stepped behind him to look at his pad, but she blocked his sun and he glared up at her. Not too long, Kakashi told the artist, he should be here already. Sai nodded, and began to draw faster. Naruto tossed another can onto the pile building up on the shore, shaking his head. Last time they had been here, he and Sakura had helped pick up garbage at the edge of the pond at the foot of the falls, and when they had arrived, he had waded in to do so again. As he reached for a plastic milk jug, 3 towers of water exploded between him and the shore, drenching the blonde Chunin. As the pillars splashed back to the pool, a figure resolved in each column. In the middle stood their client Shibuki, but unexpectedly, on his left was Shizuku, and on his right was her twin brother, Fumito. Both of the children were noticeably taller, and each now wore a hidden waterfall headband. Sakura! Both shouted, running to the medical kunoichi. Naruto walked out of the lake, and shook himself dry like a dog, or a fox. Sorry about that, Naruto, Shibuki chuckled, we didn't expect anyone to be in the water. But thank you for the pickup, you saved Fumito and Shizuku some work. Hey, Sasuke's not here, Shizuku noted loudly, where is he? Shibuki looked sheepish. Sai ignored them, continuing his outline, but Naruto and Sakura struggled for words. Sasuke left the team for family reasons, Kakashi told them. Oh, the young waterfall kunoichi looked disappointed. So, you two are genin now. Naruto changed the subject. Yup. Fumito proclaimed proudly. We want to defend the village like Shibuki-sama and Naruto Naichin, the young girl added. Well, we better get moving, Shibuki announced, and you two should get to work. Yes, Master Shibuki, they both bowed, and then set to work bagging the garbage Naruto had collected. Okay, so why are we here? Kakashi asked. Team 7 had been following the leader of the hidden waterfall village silently for 8 minutes, as he led them eastwards along the cliff that contained the waterfall that gave the small shinobi town its name. There have been some strange and somewhat disturbing rumors, he told them, rumors that my village may soon be targeted for conquest. I have spent the past 3 years building up our strength, but without the hero's water it may not be enough. That's why I need the waterfall tabard. Waterfall tavern. Naruto frowned, we're going to some inn. Not tavern, Sakura groaned, tabard, a cloth drape that you wear over armor. No brains, Sai commented. The waterfall tabard is a special talisman, Shibuki continued, the cotton used to weave it and the inks used to dye it were all steeped in the hero's water. And it was woven by master ninja craftsmen. It is said to triple the strength, speed, and chakra of anyone who can claim it. That doesn't explain why we are here, Kakashi pointed out. The tabard is stored in a cave with many lethal traps. The layout has been lost in time, but the instructions say that no 2 jonin may enter the cave, nor may one waterfall shinobi ask another for help before entering. Smart, the copy ninja chuckled, but do you think it will work? What will work? Naruto was confused. I have achieved the rank of jonin, but you 3 are all chunin, their client explained. On top of that, you are not waterfall ninja, and I did not ask for your help, I hired you to do a job. So the mission is for the 3 of us to help you get the tabard. Sakura requested confirmation, and Shibuki nodded. Then it's as good as yours, Naruto boasted. Sai and Kakashi looked more dubious. This is it, Shibuki said. The cliff face had continued to slant upwards, so that they could no longer see the top. There was a wide trail angled to an opening some 30 feet above them. Underneath mouth of the tunnel, an underground tributary spilled out into a small pond. I'll wait here, Kakashi said. He took out his phone, and switched it to short-range mode, instructing, keep in touch. The 3 chunin nodded, and switched their cells to radio mode, though it took Naruto a couple of tries to remember how to do it. After a nod to Kakashi, Shibuki escorted them into the cave. Sakura and Shibuki broke out flashlights at the dim of the entrance. Sai followed suit, and then the three of them looked at Naruto. He grinned back, and drew Kitsune. A sliver of chakra, and a strong green glow erupted from the pole. But his triumphant look faded as he glanced around the tunnel, and saw it branched in 3 directions. Which way? He asked Shibuki. I don't know. The waterfall shinobi shook his head. As I said, the map of this place is lost. Then should we just pick one at random? Sai pondered. Maybe we should split up, Sakura suggested. I don't think that's a good idea, their client shivered. If this place is as dangerous as the stories suggest, we should stick together. And try not to touch anything. Let's just take the middle path. Sakura and Naruto exchanged knowing glances, each thinking their client had not changed too much, despite his advancement. But Sai was already walking dutifully towards the central tunnel, and they trailed after. The cavern was formed of rough walls, and a sandy floor. They proceeded slowly, keeping an eye out for traps. But the first obstacle was obvious, and possibly natural. They encountered a wide chasm, too far to cross with a single leap. Instead, it sported a number of pillars of different heights and sizes rising from the darkness below. Sakura shined her torch into the gorge, but other than the sides of the wall and the stepping stones, the light was lost. What is the delay? Sai asked dryly, is this pit beyond your skills? If you want to go without making sure they are stable, be my guest, Sakura grumbled, stepping aside. The artist took out a kunai, and tied a thin cable tightly to the loop. Safety line, he told the kunoiki, as if instructing a child. He shone his light across the break in the cavern, fixing it on a point in the wall above the continuation of the tunnel. He tossed the blade smoothly, and the kunai flew straight at the center point of his flashlight's beam. But halfway across the gap, a burst of wind blew down the rift. The kunai was knocked off course, and struck the wall with the flat of the blade, before dropping into the gloom. Trap, Sakura told him in the same tone, and Naruto snorted. More likely a natural occurrence, Shibuki suggested nervously. Sai nodded as he reeled in his weapon. He checked the blade for damage, and then tried again. But the result was the same, and the Jonin's anxiety became more obvious. Maybe we should try one of the other paths. I doubt they will be any easier. The new member of Team 7 addressed their client with no more respect than he did his teammates. What then? Shibuki demanded, trying and failing to sound firm. Sakura looked around briefly, and ultimately grabbed hold of the wall, and tore off a stone slightly larger than her fist. Get ready, Sakura told Sai, hefting the rock. He nodded, and she threw the stone across the chasm, at the wall. As expected, the breeze picked up, but unlike the kunai, the mineral lump was not knocked astray. As soon as the gust settled, Sai threw his anchor. They all watched in anticipation, and this time the wind did not deflect the dagger. Only after it was entrenched in the wall, did the blowing resume. With the cord constantly in gap, the wind followed a regular pattern, 2 seconds of gusts, and 3 seconds to recharge. Once they realized that, the ninja were able to cross the gorge quite easily. After they passed barrage of darts, the 4 shinobi finally stopped running. Shibuki bent over, panting. Man, that was close, Naruto exhaled. Sakura stared back at the slots in the wall, as far as the curve in the tunnel. She considered the floor, and then addressed her allies. I think we should try walking on the walls, she said thoughtfully. Why waste our chakra? Sai asked, his voice implying she was making a mistake. Because I don't think this sand is natural, she answered, ignoring his condescension. I think it was put here to hide pressure plates and trip lines. That's what triggered the swinging blades, and darts. That makes sense, Shibuki agreed, now looking at the floor. Let's try it, Naruto shouted enthusiastically. Without waiting, he scrambled to the side of the tunnel. He put one foot on the wall above the sand, and quickly put his other foot above it. And immediately slid back down onto his butt. What the heck? He grumbled. He jumped back to his feet, and placed his right foot on the wall again. He poured twice as much chakra into the limb, enough to stand on water. But the moment he put weight on it, he slid back down. The wall has obviously been treated to repel that technique, Sai noted smugly. So what do we do? Naruto demanded of the thorn in his side. Sneak through here, blowing the sand away, and hoping that the traps aren't set off by that. Sai shrugged. unmoved by Naruto's outburst, but unable to refute the point. We need to keep going, Shibuki said, the sooner we get the tabard, the better. That's your job. And we've done fine so far. Sakura nodded grimly, and, after another moment to finish catching their breath, they continued their spelunking. What the heck? Naruto had taken the lead after the quicksand pit. The journey had been uninterrupted for just over 9 minutes of walking, and Sakura and Shibuki were both getting nervous. Uzumaki had stopped, because the sand on the floor in front of them had been fused into glass. Murky, yet smooth, the glass floor continued on for as far as their flashlights could illuminate. You thinking some sort of fire trap? Naruto asked Sakura, and the medic nodded slowly. Naruto slowly stuck Kitsune out, past the edge of the glass. He wiggled the end of the staff blade around, experimentally. Nothing happened. Maybe it's broken, Shibuki suggested, or ran out of fuel. But he did not look convinced, nor did any of the Chunin. Sakura looked at the walls ahead of them intently, and then sighed. Well, I don't see anything, she pondered, but something just doesn't feel right. How about I just send out a shadow clone? Naruto suggested, that way we can see if the trap is still working. Try it, Shibuki urged. Naruto put his hands together and a second blonde appeared, holding a glowing copy of Kitsune. The duplicate nodded, and then scurried down the tunnel. As a minute of waiting, Uzumaki blinked intensely. It spirals down for about 300 yards, and the glass ends at a short pit. It's back to sand on the other side. But the clone didn't set off any flamethrowers, or anything. So it doesn't work anymore. Sai's tone was blasé, it was bound to happen. Let's keep moving. The leaf and waterfall warriors stepped onto the smooth surface cautiously. Like the walls, it repelled their chakra grip, making it slippery. But with their training, they had no trouble keeping upright. After they had traveled 20 feet on the altered floor, they heard a dull scratching and the ceiling slid opened, just after where the glass started. A mass of blue liquid poured out, creating a curtain across the cave, and running towards them. At the edge of the glass, some of the substance splashed on the wall, which began to melt away with a loud hiss. It is an acid, Sakura shouted, the floor is covered in glass so it won't eat through the stone. Then, another patch of the stone roof began to open, this one close to them. Run. It's too heavy, Shibuki groaned. After the acid, there had been stabbing spears from the wall. Then came more quicksand and trapdoors. Finally they arrived at a reinforced stone portcullis. The waterfall leader was straining to lift the gate, but could not budge it. There must be some sort of mechanism to open it, he panted after he gave up. Let me try, Sakura stepped forward. But, Shibuki's protest died in his throat when Tsunde's apprentice lifted the gate slowly. Though it was obviously difficult from the strain on her face, the second strongest ninja in the Konohagakure raised the granite and steel grid. As it passed her waist, she kneeled down, and slid her shoulder under it. The muscles on her legs seemed to pop out as she stood the rest of the way. What are you waiting for? She growled at them. The three men quickly ducked under. But after they were through, they realized Sakura was stuck. Can you get it any higher? Naruto asked. Maybe, she groaned. Why? Lift it as high as you can, and I'll wedge shadow clones under it. That should give you enough time to let go, and dive free. The pink-haired girl nodded. She took a deep breath, and then pushed up again. That's all I've got, she told him, when the bottom bar of the barricade was at her eye level. Her teammate signed quickly, and said, multi-shadow clone jutsu. 17 more Uzumakis materialized, and they all stuffed themselves under the portcullis. Sakura's pain eased slightly. On 3, Naruto instructed, 1, 2, 3. All of the copies pushed up, and Sakura rolled out from under the gate. With the primary support gone, the barricade slammed shut, destroying all of the duplicates instantly. How much further? Sai asked, bored. It shouldn't be too far, Shibuki considered, we've come over 2 miles, so if my information is correct, it should be another half-mile or so. Good. The Anbu agent strolled casually backwards, this is starting to get tedious. There aren't many more stupid, antiquated traps this place can throw at us. As he said that, his foot sank into the sand behind him. The leaf shinobi stumbled backwards, but rolled and landed in a 3-limb crouch. Pay closer attention, Sakura complained, you're getting as bad as Naruto used to be. The artist lifted his hand with a scowl, finally touched by an insult. As he did, there was a loud click underneath him. He barely had any time to register surprise, before the ceiling dropped. Sigh! Sakura screamed, and Naruto ran over to the crushing panel, trying to lift it. Sakura, give me a hand, he shouted hoarsely, and the powerhouse Kunoichi complied. But even together they could not lift it. After almost a minute of straining, they gave up, and Sakura sank to her knees. What's going on in there? Kakashi's voice suddenly demanded from their phones. Kakashi-sensei, Haruno was on the verge of tears as she pressed the talk button. We lost Sai. I know, their teacher said, he's right here. What? Naruto squawked into his communicator. He just came floating out in the underground stream. How is he? Sakura yelled into the phone. Wet, unconscious, but otherwise fine, the Leaf Jonin reported. As he spoke, the weighted trap retracted, revealing no sign of the Chunin. Maybe there is some sort of trap door, Naruto suggested. Then what about the sand on the floor? Sakura asked. He squinted at the dust, now pressed flat and even, maybe some kind of jutsu. Sakura appeared lost in thought for a moment, but then stood resolutely. We have to keep moving, she said, especially if we're near the end. There it is, Shibuki called out excitedly. They had entered a large chamber, and in looking around, they saw 6 other tunnels converged in this room. In the center, illuminated by a pillar of light, there was an armor stand with a white cloth draped over it. On the front of the tabard was the symbol of the waterfall village in blue and red. Shibuki ran over to the stand, but as he got close, his face changed. This is the waterfall tabard. He sounded disappointed. The cotton was ragged and had moth holes. Up close, the emblem of the village was faded. He reached out to touch it and part of it broke away under his fingers. How? The tabard isn't real, Sakura told him, it's just the carrot. This place is the real goal. What do you mean? Naruto asked. Those 6 paths all come from roughly the same way we did, she said, and pointed to the last exit. That one doesn't. Ha! Uzumaki grunted. Just follow me. Sheila, them to the cavern she had indicated. On the other side, there was another room. One of the walls of the pentangular space had a bookshelf full of scrolls, while the remaining 4 held a variety of levers and knobs. That's what I thought, the intelligent young woman chuckled. This place is a proving ground. A proving ground. Naruto was not familiar with the term. A training area, she explained, despite how they look, I'm guessing none of the traps are lethal. They probably just disable you, or send you back outside, like Sai. And they are controlled from here. Then the tabard, Shibuki asked. A legend, and the goal for the maze. That's why only one Jonin, and no asking for help, Naruto realized, it would make it too easy. Sakura nodded, and added, and the part about tripling your strength and speed, it's probably an estimate of how much you improve by the time you can run this place at its highest settings. Then this was all for nothing, Shibuki banged his hand against the wall. What do you mean? Naruto demanded, you wanted a way to get stronger to protect your village, and now you have it. Not just you, you can have all of your people train here. Or were you just looking for a quick fix, like Suien was? You're right, Naruto, Shibuki shook his head wryly, thank you. Now let's turn off these traps, and get out of here, Uzumaki requested, Kakashi-sensei is waiting. Hinata and Naruto tensed up in unison. They were surrounded by at least 20 other ninja, trapped. The young shinobi couple stood back to back in the small clearing, while their opponents stayed hidden in the trees, some stationary, and others slowly circling. Hinata was wearing ginmaki, though Naruto was without kitsune. They're coming, Hinata whispered, her Suijin Byakugan active, get ready. Naruto nodded. Then, as if an invisible signal went off, the first wave of kunai, shurikens, and needles emerged from the woods from all directions. They both raised their right hands, pointer and middle fingers extended. Double vision, they intoned in unison, protection of the 8 trigrams, 192 palms. Their hands began to move, faster than most eyes could have followed. The streams of sharpened chakra were so intense and numerous, their afterglow gave the illusion of a 15-foot dome around them. Another wave of weapons followed, faster and more numerous than the first, but these too were destroyed with ease. A particularly dense set of kunai blades came in front Hinata's left, and she turned slightly to face them directly. Naruto moved in unison, keeping his spine perfectly aligned to her, and continuing to knock down the attacks. A small barrage of stones flew towards his head, but he strengthened the energy blades he was shooting, and cut down the earth jutsu just as easily as the throwing weapons. Man, they're awesome, Kiba exclaimed, even as he opened the third pouch of shuriken he had been provided for the test. The pair had recruited most of their friends, teachers, and even a few other curious and willing leaf shinobi, to help them test the new technique. A few feet away, Kakashi hurtled another set of 6 kunai, multiplying them sevenfold with the shadow shuriken jutsu, and on the other side of the clearing, Tenten did the same with her throwing stars. Konohamaru and Udon had run out of throwing blades already, too caught up in youthful enthusiasm, but they continued their part of the barrage with the doton, stone bullets. Ino was mildly concerned by the enthusiasm with which Sakura aimed blades at Hinata. Why have you dragged me out here? Hiashi Hyuga demanded of the Hokage. Just hold on a minute, she told him. She changed course slightly to avoid a dense stand of oak, and then stopped. There, I wanted you to see this, she pointed, of course, since you took so long, we're already late. She moved forward, taking out her first set of partially blunted kunai, and throwing them at Hinata's right leg. Hiashi could not stop a small smile as he watched his daughter's defense. And the expression only became curious when he realized Naruto was part of the technique. What is this? He asked evenly. It looks like Hinata's protection of the 8 trigrams 64 palms, but how is Naruto using the technique? Karaname Jutsu, she answered, letting a handful of shuriken fly. Actually, Hinata has created a stronger version, one that fuses their sight. So Naruto effectively has the Byakugan, and Hinata uses him to cover the Hyuga blind spot. He nodded. But why show me this? He asked. I am impressed, but why not tell me beforehand? So your opinion wouldn't be colored. Such perfect teamwork is a rare thing. He chuckled. That was not necessary. I have already come to the realization that my daughter could do far worse for a partner than Naruto Uzumaki. I'm glad to hear it, Tsunade smirked knowingly, very glad. Shino moved his hands through the patterns, using the shadow clone jutsu to create 2 copies of himself. The original stepped back, while the duplicates sent their swarms of cloned bugs to attack Hinata and Naruto. Hinata stepped forward to face the cloud with her superior speed, and Naruto picked up his own pace to cover the rest of the attacks. Besides their shared vision, each could tell what the other would do through their linked chakra, and the muscles of their backs. In less than 3 seconds, all of the replica bugs were destroyed. All right, Guy roared, caught up in the moment. He ripped a giant rock free from the earth, hefting it into a pitcher's stance. Shikamaru stepped away, looking worried. Before anyone could stop him, he threw the 3rd-ton chunk of granite at Naruto and Hinata. Both teens' heads jerked to look at the stony missile. The other weapons slowed, as most of the attackers paused in concern. Hinata's right arm, and Naruto's left arm snapped out as one, as if they were connected at the wrist. They combined their strikes effortlessly, and the rock exploded. Their arms split apart again, and they individually destroyed the remaining pieces. The test finally ended when their attackers ran out of ammunition. As the projectiles stopped flying, Naruto and Hinata ended the jutsu with matched exhales of relief. Once it was safe, their friends flooded the field to congratulate them. I need to see teams 7, 8, and 10 in my office, Tsunade announced when she entered the clearing. She caught Genma's eye, and her assistant nodded, before disappearing. It seems we are ready, the Hokage announced, despite the fact Sai and Kurenai were both missing. I have been considering this for a while, she informed them, but what I have just seen clinches it. I have decided to eliminate your teams. The Chunan's yells of protest combined into an incomprehensible roar. Only Kakashi, the only Jonin present, besides Tsunade and Shizune, and Shikamaru remained silent. Quiet, the leader of the Leaf Ninja roared, and everyone complied. As it stands, none of your teams are complete. The Sai experiment failed, he will be returning to the Anbu. That leaves Kakashi short a Chunin, and the rest of you don't have a Jonin leader. Also, those outdated team numbers should have gone away as soon as you were accepted as Genin teams, but somehow they stuck. What do you mean, we do not have a Jonin? Shino asked. Kurenai-sensei will not be returning to normal duty, Tsunade explained. The Chunin began to shout questions again, but Tsunade raised her hand. I suppose I had better explain that part first, she sighed. The Kazekage and I have come up with a new way to strengthen the ties between our villages. We are each sending one Jonin to live in the other village, as a diplomat. Or as I like to think of it, a mutual hostage exchange. Cute, Shikamaru said sardonically, so we can refuse any mission that would put us at odds with the Sand, because they have one of our people. I'm guessing that's Kurenai. Correct, the Hokage nodded. Given that she is raising Saru alone, she felt it was too dangerous to be going out on missions. Instead, she will be helping Gaara set up an academy similar to our own. And in return, Shikamaru cut her off, saying, you might as well come out, Tima-chan. The Sand Kunoichi appeared behind him, and punched him in the shoulder. Hard. I told you not to call me that in public, she griped, jerk. Wait, you two are. Naruto's head jerked back and forth between the two of them, but when I asked before, you said you weren't. That was then, this is now, Shikamaru said. Anyway, the Hokage said loudly, to regain their attention, as I said, you are all short-handed. So I am reforming the teams, starting today. Of course, there will always be times when you will have to work in different groups, but as before, these will be your primary partners. Team Kakashi will continue to consist of Kakashi Hatake, Naruto Uzumaki, and Sakura Haruno, she explained, looking at the folder, and as it would be foolish to separate such a perfectly synchronized duo, I'm also placing Hinata Hyuga on Kakashi's team. Naruto and Hinata's eyes met. Hinata's white orbs sparkled with happiness, and Naruto grinned at her. Sakura groaned in disappointment, and Kakashi looked amused. Ino Yamanka, Choji Akamaiki, and Shikamaru Nara, the medical Sannin continued, you three mesh almost as well as your fathers, but you have become a little complacent, so your new Jonin teacher will get you back on track. You. The lazy genius looked at his girlfriend expectantly. But Temari shook her head. No, Tsunade also denied, as diplomatic envoy of the Sunagakure, Temari will be working directly with me on certain, special projects. No, you three will be working under Anko Mitarashi. Even worse, Shikamaru grimaced, as the abrasive Jonin appeared. Welcome to Team Anko, maggots, she addressed them, it seems it's my job to whip you into shape. Since the only one of you I've worked with was Ino, and she was next to useless, I'm guessing this is gonna be a lot of fun. Ino bristled, and Choji groaned in unison with Shikamaru. Shino Aburame and Kiba Inuzuka, that leaves you two down, both a leader and a teammate, the Hokage regarded them, so you will be serving on Yugao Azuki's team. Unlike Anko or Temari, Yugao did not just appear on the room. Instead, she politely opened the door, and bowed before she entered. Behind her another figure started to follow. And your new teammate will be Sasam, Naruto exclaimed in recognition, running over to the girl, it's been a while. Yes, Sasam Fuma, Tsunade sighed out the girl's name. Physically, Sasam Fuma had changed little in the 3 intervening years. She was not even 2 inches taller, and her figure had matured only slightly. The thread uses straight orange hair still fell to the bottom of her back and retained the top knot peak, though her bangs were split. But her clothing had changed completely. Gone were the tomboyish cap, turtleneck vest, and shorts. She instead wore a tight, knee-length, short-sleeved, navy blue dress. Over the top of that she wore a leather vest breastplate and fold. Her feet were partially covered by split sandals, and her hands by fingerless gloves. And noticeably, she had a Konoha headband covering her forehead. It's nice to see you, Naruto, Sakura, she told them, and I look forward to working with everyone. So you're joining the Leaf Village? Sakura asked. The new girl nodded. The rest of the Fuma clan has joined with Hidden Sound Village, the Hokage explained, but Sasam here seemed to think she owed a debt to us. We put her to the test, and she passed with flying colors. As of yesterday, Sasam Fuma is a Leaf Village Chunin in good standing. That's all, the Hokage concluded, you're all dismissed. Alright worms, it's time to get to work, Anko smirked at her Chunin squad, and with more than a little trepidation, they let themselves be escorted out of the Hokage's office. I think we should have a party, Kiba suggested, welcoming Sasam to the village. That's a great idea, Naruto nodded enthusiastically. Sasam blushed, but did not protest. The remaining Chunin and Jonin exited the Hokage's office, leaving one man behind. Is there something I can do for you, Shino? Tsunade asked him. I know it is not my place, his voice was as calm and even as always, but are you sure you can trust that girl? She has worked for our enemies before. That time, she was both tricked and coerced by Orochimaru, she stared at him cannily, and once she figured that out, she quickly went to helping Naruto and Sakura. Besides that, after the ringer we put her through, I'd have to say I trust her at least as much as any of the rest of you. Still, I am not comfortable working with her. The Fuma clan's thread techniques are based around snaring and immobilizing opponents. They have well earned the nickname of Clan of Spiders. As an insect user, I am well aware of the Aburame clan's one-sided rivalry with the Fuma clan. Tsunade leaned back, hiding her grin behind her hands. Smirking at Naruto might work, but handling Shino required a different tack. I took it into account when making this decision. I think this will be a good chance for you, both to expand your horizons, and to help put your clan's little prejudice to rest. Now, if there is nothing else, I need to get back to work. No, Shino's frown and narrowed eyes were hidden. Thank you for hearing me out, Lady Hokage. Do you think that will be a problem? Shizune asked her teacher, after the door closed. No, Shino is pretty low-key, Tsunade considered out loud, and by the book. It should work out. Sakura. Aside from Shino, Sakura was the last to leave Ninja Ops. She trailed purposefully, in no mood to be carried along to their impromptu party. But as she left, she was called out to by Kakashi. Are you okay with this? He asked carefully. Of course, Sensei, she grinned weakly. What makes you say that? Why wouldn't I be? Other than your obvious annoyance. He countered flippantly. It's just, all this lovey-dovey crap is starting to wear thin, she sighed. I mean, Naruto never used to be like this. I know, the copy ninja agreed glibly, he never used to fawn over someone he cared about, and kowtow to her every whim. His right eye landed on her intently, and she sighed again, this time in defeat. Okay, I get it, her false reasoning defeated, she pretended to surrender. I'll cut them a little more slack. And I'll have a talk with them about all the PDAs, Kakashi offered, so it doesn't get in the way of our missions. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. Despite having been there before, Naruto and Sakura goggled at the movie studio as much as Hinata did. The sets, the props, the actors and actresses, their heads darted around, taking it all in. Kakashi shepherded his students through the maze of overhead lights, backdrops, and three-quarters rooms. Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi, Makino, the director of the Princess Gale films shouted, and waved him over. We're getting set up for the next scene. Yuki is still in her dressing room, he told them, I'll have one of the kids show you the way. The director flagged down a page, and instructed the young woman to take the shinobi to the actress. The intern led them swiftly past the castle wall set, to a line of rooms along the outer wall. She indicated one of the rooms with a large star on the door, and then nervously hurried off. Kakashi knocked on the door. Come in, a familiar voice. Without hesitating, Kakashi opened the door and entered the princess's sanctuary. Kayuki Kazuhana was already garbed in the costume of Princess Gale. But her hair was still loose, and her face unmade, not that it hurt her looks in the slightest. We'll have to hurry, Kasumi, to make the call, she said as they slid into the dressing room, not looking back. I'm not sure who Kasumi is, Kayuki-sama, Kakashi raised an eyebrow, but I hope you trust her. She glanced into the large mirror before her, and then turned to face them with a brilliant smile. Kakashi, Naruto, Sakura, she rose to greet them. I'm so happy to see all of you again. It is good to see you too, Kayuki-sama, Sakura responded. No need to be so formal, she admonished, shaking Kakashi and Sakura's hands, and on the set, I still go by Yuki. Most of the people here don't know that I am Daimyo of the Land of Snow. I thought you were my stylist. Naruto, you've grown a lot, she looked up at him, before hugging him. You haven't changed much, he told her, though you do seem more cheerful. That's thanks to you guys, she released him and turned to the last shinobi, and you must be Hinata Hyuga. It's a pleasure to meet you. Hinata blushed as the princess-turned-actress shook her hand, likewise, I'm sure. So why did our daimyo hire us to protect you? Kakashi queried. Yeah, shouldn't you have your own snow ninjas for bodyguards? Naruto added. Normally, I would, she grinned, but we just found a substantial vein of iron and copper ore. We are still working to rebuild, so I am negotiating with both the land of fire and the land of water for the mineral rights. So your ruler decided my guards were a security risk, that they might engage in some espionage. Her smile grew even more ironic. Of course, the real reason he did it was so he could assign you 3 to guard me, so I would feel indebted to him. Then her smile faded, and she looked more thoughtful. Unfortunately, it might be a good thing he did. There have been a few incidents on the set recently. What kind of incidents? Sakura asked, suspiciously. Last Thursday, my costume came back from the cleaners 2 sizes smaller. Then, on Monday, all the mail to all of the actors was stolen. And just yesterday one of the lights came loose, and crashed between Michi and me. She looked a little scared. If all of that happened over the course of the entire filming, it wouldn't raise an eyebrow. But this all happened in just 1 week. Do you think someone is targeting you? Kakashi asked evenly. She nodded slowly. But who would do something like that? Naruto was dismayed. Though I don't like to say it, Kakashi answered first, the daimyos of the land of fire and the land of water are likely candidates, given the non-lethal nature of the attacks thus far. Either one could be trying to frighten you, and place the blame on the other. I can't believe that, Yuki protested. They are honorable men, and allies of my country. Still, we need to consider it. The Jonin seemed to agree with the actress. In that case, who else could be after you? She thought about it, but before she could answer, there was a knock at the door. Come in. The door opened, and petite brunette stuck her head in. Oh, you are busy, Miss Yuki, she stammered. These are my new bodyguards, Kasumi, she explained, so they will be around. But yes, we are busy right now. Can you come back in 5 minutes, please? The hair and makeup artist nodded, and quickly closed the door. Who else could be behind these attacks? Yuki resumed, well, the first thing that comes to mind is the other studios. This script is the best yet, and if they can shut us down, or even just delay us enough to miss the summer movie season, it would help the bottom line. Then there is Mayuko, she continued, after a breath, Fubuki Kakayoku's younger sister. She was loyal to my uncle, and very upset by her sister's deaths. She escaped, and fled the land of snow. She could have followed me here. And I suppose Noriko, the ruler sounded dubious, she's my stunt double, and understudy. There were rumors she was trying to get a bigger part, or even replace me. But I have had some combat training since the last film, so I'm actually doing more of my own stunts this time. And that means she has less screen time. But I don't think it is her. After all, if they were to decide to shut down filming, it would hurt her too. Jealous people don't always act rationally, Hinata suggested quietly. For a moment everyone digested that, and Sakura's face flashed annoyance. The pink-haired Kunoiki looked ready to say something, until there was another knock at the door. Miss Yuki, the stylist's voice carried through the door, Mr. Makino asked me to remind you we have a schedule. Right, the actress raised her voice to be heard. We'll be outside. Kakashi indicated Naruto should go first, but Hinata and Sakura will stay in here with you. All right, Yuki smiled and nodded. Then, as the Jonin was opening the door, she suddenly spoke again. If you don't have any other arrangements, you 4 should stay with me, the actress suggested. I have the room, and it will make things easier. Kakashi inclined his head slightly in acceptance. Gale ran down the hallway, struggling to control her panic. The stone corridor let out in the dining hall. Brit was already in the room, bent over Shishimaru. When he heard the princess, he straightened. Brit, thank the gods you are all right, she said firmly. I found Tsukuyaku, collapsed by the armory. And now Shishimaru. She trailed off, unsure how to continue. They are both merely unconscious, he told her without facing her. She let a small amount of relief show on her face. I did not want them hurt, he continued, but I needed them out of the way, so they would not interfere. The chakra sorceress did not react with fear, but with surprise and royal concern. You are not planning to fight the tiles on your own, are you? She asked, putting the weight of her leadership into her voice. I understand that you want justice for your wife and daughter, but to face the 4 of them alone would be madness. Justice, he sneered, his voice showing emotion for the first time, a fancy word for heroes and monarchs. You use the term as if the world will shatter if you state what you really want. Revenge. To hurt your enemies, and watch the life drain from their eyes. But you are wrong, he finally turned so she could see his expression. His eyes were full of sadness, but his mouth was set in a firm line. I don't want revenge, he explained, not when the tiles have offered to resurrect my family, if I join them. He pulled the dagger from his sleeve, and he was too close and too quick for Gale to dodge. He stabbed the straight knife at her unprotected stomach. Clang! A kunai struck the blade, knocking it out of his hand. Both Gale and Britt were surprised and scared by the sudden interruption, and they stepped away from one another. Cut! The director shouted. Everyone on the set was looking at Hinata Hyuga, her arm extended, and her Kekkei Genkai active. Hinata, Sakura yelled at her teammate, what the hell was that? Ta! That dagger, the white-eyed kunoiki quailed under the scrutiny, it's not a prop. It's real. All eyes moved to the weapon. No way, the actor proclaimed defensively, that's the same knife I used for the fight between Britt and the West Tile. It has the button to stop the blade from retracting. Hinata's right, Kakashi was suddenly in the middle of the set, holding the dagger, it has a fake button, but this is full tang, fully sharp weapon. Yuki, I didn't know, the actor protested, taking another step back. The three Chunin all closed ranks around the princess. All right, let's all settle down, Makino tried to regain control of the set, let's take a break, and try to figure out how this happened. Naruto, Sakura, take Yuki back to her dressing room, and stay with her, Kakashi ordered. Hinata, you're with me. Of course, Kakashi-sensei, the girl bobbed her head. As the other two escorted their client off the sound stage, Hinata followed Kakashi in the opposite direction. As they wove through the studio at high speed, Hinata spoke again. Where are we going, sensei? She asked carefully. Props, he explained, showing her the dagger, we need to find where this came from, and that is the place to start. She nodded, having suspected as much. Are you okay, Kayuki-sama? Sakura asked, once they were back in the actress's sanctuary. Yuki, Sakura, she insisted, and yes, I'm fine, thanks to Hinata. Compared to a trio of murderous traitors, a prop mix-up isn't anything to worry about. If it was a mix-up, Sakura wondered. If it wasn't a mistake, Naruto frowned, then the others probably weren't either. And they are getting more dangerous. But it's nothing you can't handle, right? The actress asserted confidently. Of course, Naruto agreed. But, we don't know what we're facing, Sakura objected, and espionage and investigation aren't exactly our strong suits. Maybe not before, Naruto shrugged, but now we have the three sharpest eyes in the entire Hidden Leaf Village on our team. The props room was divided in two. Half of the room was designated for storage of completed elements. This half was clean and organized. The other section was for the creation of the fake tools and weapons. That area was far more cluttered, and stained. As the two shinobi entered the workshop, a well-built man moved to greet them. Director Makino called ahead, the craftsman told them, he figured you were headed down here. Mentioned there was some sort of mix-up with Britt's knife. That they might have grabbed the real knife instead of the rubber one. I was going to look for it now. After wiping the grease off his hands, he opened a compartment on one of the shelves. It only took a few seconds of rummaging around, before he extracted a knife that appeared identical to the one Kakashi was holding. They look the same, Hinata marveled. Thanks, the prop master said proudly. He took the dagger he was holding, and pressed his thumb against the blade, and began to rub it back and forth vigorously. Then he showed him the digit was unmarked. The paint job makes it look sharp, but this thing can barely cut water. The blade is pretty rigid, but it has some give. He displayed the property, pressing firmly on the tip until the polymer flexed. Then he released the concealed button of the hilt, and the blade vanished into the handle. And, of course it's collapsible. But then why have a real, sharp version? Hinata asked cautiously. For scenes where we need to cut something. Like the one we filmed last Monday, Britt gets angry and stabs an apple, and then cuts it up to eat, to cover. It's foreshadowing, and we can't cut an apple with the fake blade. Then the artisan frowned, what bothers me is how that one got on the set. The real blades are locked up in the weapons locker when not in use. Can we see the locker? The elder shinobi asked. Sure, the prop maker shrugged. He led him over to the reinforced cabinet, and put the combination into the heavy lock. The thick door opened with a loud metallic creak, and the prop master's face filled with surprise. What the F? His expletive trailed off, and he glanced sheepishly at the young woman. He reached inside, and took out a third knife, seemingly identical to the first two. This is the cutting version, he said, raising first his right hand, and then his left, and this is the fake. So what do you have? He set the two knives down on the table so they could see. Other than the catch to prevent the rubber blade from retracting, they were indistinguishable. Kakashi set the third dagger alongside them. It too had the small button near the top of the handle. Hinata, will you take a closer look? Kakashi asked. The Chunin nodded, and put her hands together. Byakugan. The veins around her eyes pulsed, and the outline of her pupils became visible in her white eyes. Instinctively, she looked down at the daggers as her focus fell on them. I see, that is very clever. She reached for the fake weapon, not quite touching it. Then she turned her attention to the two sharpened blades. This one, she pointed to the one their host had removed from the locker, is superior to the other blade. Its metal is a higher quality, and the etchings are deeper, and more detailed. Thanks, the prop master took her words as a compliment. There are marks on the bottom of this one, her finger stopped just short of the hilt of the weapon that had nearly struck Yuki. It looks like it was filed down, and covered over with paint. The toolmaker's eyes widened in realization, and he exclaimed, its own are the replicas. Replicas? Hinata asked. After the last movie, the studio released some limited edition copies of all the movie's weapons. Not quite as good as my originals, but close enough to pass cursory inspection, he explained. Someone must have scratched off the serial number and sharpened it. And added the fake lock. Can we track down who could have ordered this? Kakashi asked, collecting the evidence again. Probably not, he shrugged apologetically. The production run was 2500, and the serial number is gone. And it could have been somebody who paid cash and didn't register it, or it could have been resold or stolen. Kakashi nodded, having expected as much. So how did it get on the set? Hinata asked. Well, we only keep the real weapons and expensive stuff locked up. It would have been pretty easy to slip something in here, the prop master answered. Still, it is kinda suspicious that it was Brit's knife that turned up real. Why is that? Kakashi queried pointedly. Didn't they give you scripts? He asked. They shook their heads, and he thought about it. After a moment of indecision, he continued, look, I don't like telling gossip, and I like telling spoilers even less, but Brit dies at the end of the movie. And needless to say, he wasn't too happy about that. Heard he pitched a fit. Thank you for your time, the Jonin prepared to leave. When you see Miss Yuki, tell her I'll be checking everything that comes out here for the rest of the shoot, okay? We will, Hinata agreed. Yes, I was angry at first, the actor shrugged. I read the end of the script first, and found out they were killing Brit that way. So I groused a little to Makino, and Yuki. But that was before I figured out this was the best thing they could have done for my career. How so? Kakashi asked curiously. First off, I have more lines in this film than I had in any of the previous 5. In fact, I have more screen time in this sequel than I did in the first and third films, combined, he explained happily, and I get to display much more emotional range. So I get a showcase film, and afterwards I'm not tied down. It is the perfect platform for me to move into a real, leading role. Then, he grinned wider, and on top of that, after the third film, the studio signed the main cast to a 4-picture deal. Which means, even if Brit doesn't appear in number 7, I still get paid. So it's really in my best interest to see that this film gets made, and is as successful as possible. Thanks for your time, Kakashi said again, and he indicated Hinata should leave first. What do you think? The copy ninja asked once they were out of earshot. The girl dismissed her Kekkei Genkai as she answered. I believe him, she offered. The Byakugan isn't a perfect lie detector, and Neji is better at it than I am, but he didn't show any signs of deception. He is an actor, her teacher mused, but I tend to agree. His reasoning is logical, and like you said, he was not upset, but also not too composed. We should head back to Yuki's dressing room, he instructed. Gale ran down the hallway, struggling to control her panic. The stone corridor let out in the dining hall. Brit was already in the room, bent over Shishimaru. When he heard the princess, he straightened. Brit, thank the gods you are all right, she said firmly. I found Tsukuyaku, collapsed by the armory. And now Shishimaru. She trailed off, unsure how to continue. They are both merely unconscious, he told her without facing her. She let a small amount of relief show on her face. I did not want them hurt, he continued, but I needed them out of the way, so they would not interfere. The chakra sorceress did not react with fear, but with surprise and royal concern. You are not planning to fight the tiles on your own, are you? She asked, putting the weight of her leadership into her voice. I understand that you want justice for your wife and daughter, but to face the four of them alone would be madness. Justice, he sneered, his voice showing emotion for the first time, a fancy word for heroes and monarchs. You use the term as if the world will shatter if you state what you really want. Revenge. To hurt your enemies, and watch the life drain from their eyes. But you are wrong, he finally turned so she could see his expression. His eyes were full of sadness, but his mouth was set in a firm line. I don't want revenge, he explained, not when the tiles have offered to resurrect my family, if I join them. He pulled the dagger from his sleeve, and he was too close and too quick for Gale to dodge. He stabbed the straight knife at her unprotected stomach. Blood sprayed out as the blade pierced her skin. She started to collapse, pulling away from the blade, but he caught her gently. Why? Gale demanded weakly. Your blood and the holy chakra it contains are vital components of the ritual, he answered quietly. If I bring it to them, then my family will live again. He held a vial to the wound, collecting the fluid. Once the container was full, he set her down gently. Goodbye, Princess Gale. Cut. The director shouted triumphantly, that was perfect. Let's call it a night. Unfortunately, I only have 3 spare bedrooms, Kyuki told the 4 ninjas, as she ushered them into her rather substantial home. She took note of the teens' amazement at the wide, open recreation room just inside the front entrance. So I'm afraid 2 of you will have to bunk together, she continued, glancing at them. Sakura also looked at Naruto and Hinata, as if expecting something. I'll bunk with Kakashi-sensei, Naruto asserted, so Hinata and Sakura can have their own rooms. That's generous of you, Naruto. Kakashi's even tone carried a hint of amusement, but unnecessary. The others looked at him, surprised. The princess's face also held a hint of promise. Since one of us will be standing guard at any given time, we'll only need 3 beds anyway. Sakura nodded, and Yuki looked disappointed. You 3 get some rest, the Jonin ordered, I'll take first watch. I told you that you couldn't kill her with that knife trick, one of the shadows watching the actress's house said sourly. I don't want to kill her, the second said, I like her films. And our job is to get her off the set. I don't think our client particularly wants Yuki dead either. Alive, dead, what difference does it make? The first watcher shrugged, but tomorrow we do it my way. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.